Alrighty. All right. So here we are. Awesome. Should we get started?
Yeah.
Cool. Folks are joining or? Cool. All right, guys. Good evening. Firstly, thank you so much for coming out for this live. I'm pretty excited for it. It's the first time I'm doing something of this sort. So, yeah, pretty psyched. So before we get started, I would like to just put it out there and thank Nivea Men 42K for supporting me on the Triple Trouble run that I did in September, and which led to the film piece that you all were able to watch, and which has also led to now this webinar that I'm being able to do. So thanks a ton to Nivea Man 42K for supporting me on this adventure, and it's been an exciting ride. So before we get started, few points. I will be dividing this webinar into three major parts. One is about training, planning your training, and about uh, planning your racing calendar, which is sort of interlinked. And then something a bit on nutrition, a little bit on the daily nutrition, and a little bit on nutrition specifically for kind of events that you want to do. And after that, on bit on sponsorships. Along the way, I have four quiz questions as well. So I'm going to be putting one question after every topic, and we have some cool giveaways thanks to Nivea Men's 42K. So if you get the right answer, we'll be choosing one guy, one person, and so there'll be four quiz questions, and I'll be putting out all the right answers at the end of this webinar. So that's there. And yeah, if you have questions, let's keep it related to every topic of discussion, so it'll just be easier to talk about and discuss it. So the first topic is on training and planning training. So you can ask questions about that in the comment box, and after we finish this topic, I'll try and answer some of the questions, if not all at least. So all right. So all right. So before we get started, a little bit about me. Yeah. Hi guys. Good evening. I'm Kieren Dsouza, and I well have been running now for the last 10 years, a little over a decade. I started when I was 17, and the first 5 years of my running journey has been was an experimental few years for me, where I read a lot about training, read a lot of books, read a lot on the great wide web, and I started in a little village far away in the mountains over here. So my internet is a little shabby. So yeah, sorry for this glitch over here, but I'm back, and I fingers crossed it stays perfect. All right, so where was I? Yeah, I was talking about. So if you have questions, drop them in the comment box, and I'll try and answer them, and as many as I possibly can. So yeah, before we get let's get started. All right. So I have been one sec. All right, yeah. So I have been running now for the last 10 years, and over the last 10 years, I have learned a lot, and mostly it has all come out of trial and error and making mistakes, learning from them, practicing things, reading a lot, whether it's on the World Wide Web um, or on the with books and stuff. So by books by many authors, many great athletes, many great coaches, and I've learned a lot from these sources. Over the years, I've also been able to discuss a lot of training with a lot of fellow athletes. So I think that has allowed me to sort of figure out at least what works for me, and that is very important, right? I think we are all individuals, and we all have different things that work for us in a different way. So with this webinar, I do hope that it allows you to give some kind of clarity with the topics that we're discussing, and hopefully you can apply it and use it on your own training in the future, whether it's for racing, whether it's for climbing a peak, for whatever it may be. So I do hope you have some valuable takeaways from all of this. So yeah, since we are talking about training, let's get started with training. So to the slide. Yeah. All right. So training and races, right? What I have learned with all the reading and the first 5 years of my running career, which has been experimental, is that consistency is the most important. Initially, in my early days of running, the first few years, whenever I would read a book or read a training plan on the internet, I would start to get carried away with that and apply it on my own training. But with time, I realized that if I keep changing whatever training I am doing, whatever I'm following, I'm not really reaping all the benefits of the training that I should be. So while I was consistent, I was not consistent with specific types of training. I'll get carried away with the various training information that I was getting from the books or on the internet. So after 5 years, I sort of started to zero in on what kind of training suits me best. My favorite way of approaching my training is a little bit, I think, of the old school way, and I like to stick to the basics. Because the basics are like whatever people were doing in the 60s and 70s. They were doing amazing stuff, right, with the way they were performing. So I think following a lot of training that was happening many years back allows me to have a solid foundation and experiment with newer things now and then. So my way of training is a little more old school, I feel. So yeah. So the way I like to work is to have a goal. I divide my full annual calendar and into various verticals, basically, starting with the main goal for the year. For example, next year in 2021, my main goal is going to be UTMB, the full circuit around Mont Blanc. That also was my goal for 2020. Now I know that that is going to be my goal, and I start to work backwards from my goal, my main A goal for the year. When I work backwards from my goal, I start to come up with another set of goals, which are usually more like B goals, smaller goals to basically help me get and achieve my A goal. So for me being UTMB, I would start planning smaller things, let's say like a 50K race or an 80K race, things that allow me to build up to my A goal basically. So that's how I always plan my year. November, October, December, these months of the year, I sort of try to, figure out what I would like to do in the coming year and work backwards from it. Uh, and as I work backwards from it, it allows me to have a full training plan for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, however much time I have up to the my A goal for the year. So usually my training starts by setting out a goal for the year, my A goal. Then I set B goals. There could be two, three, four of them, which add as stepping stones to the A goal. And then I have races even below that, which are like not really racing goals, but they are more like more like goals to understand how my training has been going, understand where I am with training, if I need to make changes to it to my training. So those kind of races basically, and they also usually act as fun races, less pressure, more fun. I can enjoy myself. I can go out and do a long run. I can reap the benefits of racing, which are a lot, and apply them in training. So that's how I plan my racing calendar mostly. Uh, yeah. Uh, Whenever I once I decide on my A goal and I have the timeline basically in mind, I start planning my base phase. The base phase is probably the most important phase, right? This is the starting, the foundation of the training for every year. I start from scratch. After I finish my big races for the year, I take a break, take 1 month off, and just don't run as much. Do other things. But when I start back in my base phase, I start from scratch. The idea with base phase is to build a solid block of lot of easy mileage, lot of mileage, which will allow you to, you know, train harder in the future, in the coming months, in the next phase after the base phase. So that's the importance of the base phase. You do a lot more mileage, lot more easy mileage. Mostly nothing too hard. Your races are far away, so it's more fun, more relaxed, less pressure, less intense. But it's usually high mileage. So the way my base phase pans out is the initial few weeks of base phase. I take that even slower. So for example, for next year, my race that I'm planning for is in end of August. So currently in my base phase, I'm doing lower mileage, but around 100-kilometer kind of weeks, easy mileage, nothing intensive. Uh, in the next coming, I do this for 2-3 weeks. Then uh, I would build up from 100K. I would go to 120, 130K, building up the mileage in this base phase, and I would do that for a few weeks as well. After that, I would build it up even more and go into little more mileage, 160 kilometers, 170, 180, 200 kilometers. And that's sort of the peak of my base phase where I touch up to 200 kilometers in 1 week. A lot of times in the week, I'm doing double runs, mostly double runs, not triple runs, mostly double runs. Weekends are usually where I do a lot of longer runs. For example, today I was out for a 6-hour hike up in the mountains over here. So yeah, so I build the base phase gradually as well, without trying to do too much too soon, because I've just started after a break, and without even doing too much, because you can't do heavy mileage for many months at a stretch. So this allows me to be injury free, and not get injured and not get burnt out. The it's always a fine line between doing too much and doing too less, between so I try to find that balance. And I feel building up gradually with small increments of distances allows me to sort of be safer, and allows me to not be get injured, because if you get injured, you're losing out time, you're losing out on training, and that is very important. And you're losing out on consistency as well. So yeah, so that's how I plan my pace phase, right? Start off with easy mileage, easy fewer kilometers, build up, increase it over a few weeks, and keep increasing up to a certain point over probably about 3 months of base building for myself. During this time in the base phase, as I keep progressing, I also try to add small amounts of intensive workouts, very basic. For example, I would do, let's say, 1 minute hill sprints, few of them, 5 of them, 10 of them. Probably I'll do like a 20-minute tempo run once a week. Basically, just minimal amount of speed work, because it's easy to get carried away with a lot of easy mileage. So just minimal basic amount of stuff. It also allows me to tune up and stay fit enough from the speed work perspective for the next phase, where I would be adding a lot more speed work. In the base phase is also where I tend to do a lot more strength work and a lot more cycling and other activities as well. The strength work usually works two ways as well. I start at the start of the base phase. When I'm doing my strength work, I do more body weight, more mobility, more lighter stuff, uh, more reps of them. But as I keep progressing through the phase, I start to do more weights, again, gradually increasing them. I start to do more weights and fewer reps. And I'm a big, I'm a proponent of strength work. I think it's definitely very important to be doing uh, strength work. Yeah, and so yeah, pretty much this is how I sort of plan my base phase. The next stage is where I start to do a lot more harder effort workouts, more workouts, not just simple running. The workouts here are there are a lot of different kind of workouts, but I think at the core, at the most basic level, there are always variations of two things mostly: tempo runs and interval runs. Tempo runs are runs where you would be running at a sustained pace for a set amount of time. Usually, tempo runs are dictated by the races that I'm doing. More, they are closer to race pace. Uh, Again, this is for a few couple of months as well. 2 months. That's 8 weeks to 3 months, which is 12 weeks. So that's I do higher intensity based workout for this much of time as well, and this also starts to lead eventually into my first closer to my first races of the season. So the way this phase works is I do start off with the things that are least specific to the race. For example, if the race I'm preparing for is a 50K race, I would start this particular phase with 200, 300, 400 meter sprints. I would do 30 second sprints on an uphill. I would do 400 meter sprints on a flat surface, on a flat track or something. These are things that are least specific for the races. But as you progress through weeks, I keep getting a little more specific with the workouts for the races that I'm going to do. Example would be, if for the 50K race, after 1 or 2 weeks of 2 or 3 weeks of the 400 meter kind of reps or the 30 second kind of sprints, I would do increase it to 1 kilometer, 1 kilometer reps, or 4 minute on an uphill, 4 minute reps on an uphill. These are variations, by the way. I would do both. 4 minute sprints on an uphill, and as I go past few more weeks, I would start doing, let's say, 1.5 kilometer sprints or 2 kilometer sprints. I would start doing 10 minutes on an uphill, 20 minutes on an uphill, getting more specific to the kind of race that I'm actually going to be doing. Yeah. So, and I usually do uh, two intensity based workouts at this particular time in training. Lesser mileage. The mileage drops down. Like, I've done up to 200 kilometer weeks in the base phase. At this time, I bring it down to 130 kilometers, 140 kilometers, 120 kilometers in a week. But it includes intensity training as well. At this time, training. I do strength training, but not as much. It is less. It's less intense. It's not. I wouldn't do as many heavy weights. I wouldn't do as many reps. They won't be too hard because the intensity. The interval trainings are hard enough. They do take out a lot from you. So I would not do that. I would want to be fresh for all my interval training. The tempo runs I do also sort of gradually increase within these 3 months of this phase. Uh, I would start with like 20-minute kind of tempos, but I'll go as long as 1 hour, 1.5 hour towards the end of it because eventually the race I'm running is uh, like a 50K race, right? Or a longer race. So the tempo runs get longer as well. The tempo runs tend to get more specific to the race pace basically. So it's basically me training my body to get comfortable running at race pace. So yeah, that's how I would sort of break this particular cycle of training. Eventually, you're close to your first race, and then I would normally leave 2 weeks or 2 weeks before my race where I would not do any kind of hard work. I start to gradually build down the mileage as well. The last week is probably the easiest week. Very important to recover for every race. Very important to be as fresh as possible whenever you're at the start line. And then you go and you do your event. The takeaways from an event are immense always, right? You always take feedback from yourself. The reason I'm doing a race at the start of the year is to tune up for the rest of the year, to tune up for the upcoming races, to get a sense of where my training is. I still have enough time for my A goal, which is further down in the year. So this gives me a sense of where my fitness is, how far I am from the goal race, and from the fitness I want to achieve for the goal race. How far am I from that, right? So this allows me to get a sense of how to plan the next coming months towards in the build up to my goal race, basically. I think one of the biggest things people do is, not being consistent and not training throughout, and key. That's probably key, and plays a big role. Being consistent is very important. I have been running fairly consistently for 10 years now, right? And I still feel I wish I was more consistent. So we are pretty much towards the end of this particular topic of training and planning your racing calendar. So if you have questions, just drop them. All right. So Santosh here, how can one train in the mountains? All right. So there are many ways to do this. You can either be like me, jobless guy, and leave everything and shift to the mountains, or find ways to come here, come on holidays, spend a couple of weeks, and come and train here. And it comes down to why do you want to train in the mountains and what you want to try and achieve with it as well. So you could, do that. All right. So if you have any more questions, you can shoot away. Any training book suggestions? Many books. If it's specifically for running, I think one of the best would be alrighty.
Yeah.
Alrighty, I'm back. Sorry for that glitch again. Mountain life. Yeah, so the book is called, I think, Advanced Marathoning. That's probably one of the best books for marathons. If it's for mountaineering and things like that, uphill athlete, or the newer one, I think there's a one by Steve Howes. Probably that's one of the best as well out there. Uh, but I think Matt Fitzgerald, he has a couple of nice books. I don't remember the name right now, but yeah, you can check them as well.
Last question.
All right, the last one. What do you do in case of an injury? How do you maintain the consistency in that scenario? And strength workouts. All right. So are you sure? All right, man. So ideally, we don't want to get injured. It's always a no-no. We don't want to get injured. But alrighty, guys. Sorry, man. Sorry, so sorry, but yeah, mountain life, right? Thanks for bearing with me. Yeah. So, what the previous question I was answering was, it was by Ayush, right? About injuries.
Yeah.
Could you show me that once again?
Yeah. It's on your screen.
No, not this previous one. Yeah. All right, Ayusha. What do you do in case of an injury? How do you maintain the consistency in that scenario and other strength workouts? All right. So the first goal is not to get injured. You don't. It's always a no-no. You you are training, you're always pushing yourself, but getting injured is not an option. But if you do get injured, which unfortunately does tend to happen, the first step is to take a step back and try and understand as much as you can about the injury you have. And the best way is to go to a doctor who knows better. Once you have that, then you get a sense. You can try and take a call on how bad is the injury, and if you do an activity, will it aggravate it, will it not? If it's an injury where you can still go out and train, you can do some basic amount of stuff, it's all right. But if it's something where it's pretty bad, then you don't want to be training at all. Then the training is not something you are thinking about. Your goal should only be to get that injury sorted first. In case you have an injury which is a small twist of an ankle or something, where a few days rest is all right, then what you should do is probably come back very gradually. I, for example, got injured from a sort of a freak rock climbing accident last year, and it was a minor injury. I hurt my knee. It What I did was took a couple of days off, relaxed, iced it, put hot packs, massaged my muscles, did all sorts of things, whatever I thought I needed to do, and took a couple of days off. And when I started, it started very gradually. I started with walks, I started with hikes, I started with a short 10K jogs, 20K, 5K jog, things like that, and very easy. Uh, so it's basically, it's very individual. It depends on the injury. So there's no straightforward answer. But the way to go is, if you get injured, first go to a doctor, get a sense of what injury it is, and then how to deal with that injury. And work with your doc basically to get it sorted. Strength workouts, there are numerous of them. There's so many, and so many for different muscle groups and different parts of the body. So you basically try and do whatever you can, right? Like, for example, I again like to focus on basics. So a lot of my I don't go to gym. A lot of the workouts I do are whatever I can do at home, and a lot of it is body weight. So a lot of squats and lunges and variations of lunges, using a resistance band, doing basic mobility work, using a Swiss ball, using a Bosu ball. So things like that. All right. Yeah. Also, so this is the first question for the quiz. You drop in your answers, and one of you is going to get a pretty cool hamper from Nivea Men for UK at the end of it. So I hope you get the right answer. All right. The next one is managing nutrition. Yeah. So for this topic, there's again, it's a very vast topic. I think you can do, you can break it down into multiple topics and, do long sessions on each of them. So again, I think we'll just sort of cover the outer layer for now. I like to break it into two parts. One is nutrition for, living our daily life, whatever we do every day. And second, event specific. It could be running or my mountaineering goals that I have. So the first topic would be daily nutrition. What do I do every day, and how to go about it every day. So I like to keep things simple. We have three major, not three, we have four, five. We have the macronutrients, right? Fats, carbs, protein, fiber. So I like to not I like to work and consume all of it. I don't try to, remove carbs from my diet, remove fat, or remove protein, but I also don't overdo any of these macronutrients. That's usually not my worry. My concern never really is for macronutrients. So with macronutrients, I try to add a lot of variety in my food. I love rice, so I would do different kinds of rice in my food. I feel if I don't do too much carbs, I can't put enough in training. So I definitely do give carbs importance, especially with the kind of training I'm doing every day, right? I'm mostly running 20-kilometer days, 5-6 days a week throughout the year, pretty much. So I feel I do require a bunch of carbs, in my meals. But then instead of doing, and because I'm heavy on rice, I try to add variety with it. It's like locally sourced red rice, brown rice, things like that. Even with fats, right? The food you are cooking in, the oil you put on it, the fruits you're having, various sources of fat. and I like to spread it out and try to have different sources of for fat as well. So basically, getting the macronutrients is usually not that hard. My bigger concern is, focusing on the micronutrients, which are one, numerous in number. There's so many of them, and second, with the kind of diets if most of us are having, if there's not enough variety in our food, we do lose out on lots because not every source of food has all the micronutrients. There is different foods will be lacking different micronutrients, right? So my biggest goal with that as well is to add variety. With season, try to be seasonal with the foods, stuff we learned in school, basically, and a lot of variety in the food. So I like to get different kinds of vegetables in my food. I like to do different kinds of fruits every day. So if I'm doing, like, for example, the last 2 months in Manali has been persimmon season, right? And you don't get it throughout the year. So I've been having a lot of persimmons, and I've been doing a lot of bananas and doing a lot of things that are currently available in the market. In the summers, I'm doing more of things like watermelon. Things in Manali, at least, you have cherries and you have pears and peach and these kind of things. So I try to do variety with that every single day. So I feel the best way to go about it is to look for variety in your food, all 3 meals throughout the week, so that you're always getting different kind of micronutrients from your various sources of food, and you don't get stagnant with everything. Like I tend to feel, whenever I stick to a lot of dal and rice. Initially this year, with the lockdown, life was hard, and we stuck to a lot of dal rice over here to make ends meet, basically. And I do feel when I do stick to a lot of the things like that and don't add variety, I can't put as much in my training. My output in training is not as high. So I feel, whenever I'm doing a lot of variety, I feel top of my game. I feel strong. I feel more recovered. I feel fresh more often. So I definitely feel adding a lot of variety is key, even in the vegetables you're eating, in the rices, in the seeds, in the dals, and everything. And not sticking to one particular thing. I don't think anything is good or anything is excessively good or anything is excessively bad. So trying to do a lot of things in a lot of moderation, basically. So yeah, like that's how I approach food basically all the time. And of course, it is very individualistic because I'm different, you're different. I'm dealing with different things, you are dealing with different things. So trying to identify what is it you need, out of what's the purpose of, if let's say you're reducing carbs or you're reducing fats or you're reducing protein, what's the purpose of doing that, basically, right? And trying to justify that purpose to yourself. And then you start figuring out how to find the food that works for you. Like I have found what works for me is the variety. So maybe that may not work for you, though I think it should work for everyone because you should eat everything. So yeah, so that's with food for just generally, right? Drink a lot of water. I've learned that the hard way as well. Drinking a lot of water throughout the day is amply important. Yeah. Then comes the next topic would be so we have a question here as well. All right. So yeah, this is another quiz. You can answer this for another hamper from Nivea. I have been using these products since September pretty much, and some of them are pretty cool. So definitely, give it a go. And yeah, good luck with it. The question is, all right, there are 3 of them. All right, there are 3 questions, right, for this. Which is the mountain pass that I did during the triple travel run? How long did I take to finish the whole route? So from start to finish, and which of the Nivea Men 42K products are the best after a long day in the mountains? Yeah, good luck with this one. So the next topic is nutrition for racing. And this is very different compared to naturally the daily nutrition. A lot of people keep asking, can I what I should be eating in races and what I should not be eating. And people are asking things about, are things like gels and these modern sources of food, racing food, important, or can you not just do like, I don't know, like I know people who do dahi rice and races and stuff. So like, I mean, so a lot of people keep asking questions of this sort. So my first and most important tip would be that race nutrition, is very specific to every person, and what everyone feels and likes during a race changes. And what works for me is definitely not going to work for you. But what works for me has been a learning process, and that's what I would like to share with you. And hopefully you can figure out and shorten that learning process for yourself and figure out what works for you for the goals that you want to pursue, right? So the example I'm going to be using here is from one of my 100K races. I think this is what I did for CCC last year, in last August, in France. So the way I've gone about race nutrition is to first practice. That's key. Practice a lot, because you can experiment and do a lot of trial and errors in practice. You can experiment with anything and everything you want, right? Do it in practice so that you don't have to forego a performance at your race, right? You don't want to use races as an experimental ground for yourself. So yeah, so practice all of these things. Uh, and I practice a lot of my race nutrition in the long runs, especially building up to the race that I'm going to be doing. So I practice a lot of the nutrition in the cup in the month and a half building up to that particular event. Um, how do we go? Yeah. So can you show the previous slide, the 100K slide, the race nutrition slide? All right, yeah. So this is what I do for a 100K race, right? I start off with a Univet gel even before the race starts. At the start line, I do in 30 minutes in the build up, I do a gel. It's about a 190 calorie gel, so I know exactly how much I'm getting. I in the hours leading up to the race, I do a small breakfast as well. So if it's a race, let's say starting at 6 in the morning, I'm usually up around 3, right? And at 3, I'm doing like a small snack. It could be a bread and a banana, or a bread and banana, or bread and peanut butter or Nutella or something of that sort. Something which is usually light. I don't want to feel stuffy when I'm getting to the start line. At the start line, I'll do a gel, right? And then I do one gel every 30 minutes, pretty much after that, for throughout the race. So what I did in the 100K race was I did a gel pretty much for every 30 minutes for probably the first 3 to 4 hours of the race. I didn't do anything else. As the race progresses, I know, at least for myself, how gels react with me, and how I feel at certain stages of races, and at certain stages at different points of the race. So I know that I cannot keep doing gels, because I get either taste fatigue, or I want something different, right? So I start adding a little bit of solid food. So solid food is available usually at various aid stations. So I would do solid food at an aid station, and then leave, and in between aid stations, I would do gels. And I'll keep doing that. And as the race progresses, I'll reduce the amount of gels I'm doing and increase the amount of solid food I'm doing. If I'm at an aid station, I'll leave an aid station with a sandwich in my hand or some fruit in my hand, or I'll stop at an aid station and have some pasta. And I'll reduce the amount of gels, because usually once as you get tired, as you're out there for many hours, you your whole digestive system pretty much starts changing. So you can't have the same things you had initially, and variety is good again, right? You want to add slight amount of variety, then different sources of energy, basically. So I would do a chocolate here and there. Now usually I do, and usually in a cooler temperature race, I don't do too much water. I do less than 1 liter in an hour. I'm probably doing more like 500 ml in an hour, just because it's cooler temperatures, right? And I know how much I need to do because of all the years of practice and experimenting in the years, right? I've been doing. So I know I need 500 ml water. And I usually stick to just plain water. As the races get as I get to do hotter races, for example, last year I ran in Oman in December. It was a pretty hot race for me. At that time, I did more like about 1 liter every hour. And in that case, what I start to do is instead of having plain water, I mix one of the Univet powder mixes in one bottle and 500 ml in another bottle. So that allows me to get again calories from one bottle, which and plain water from another bottle. I do things like Coke and other soft drinks, but it's usually very limited to how much I do. Over the years, initially when I started, I used to do a lot more of aerated drinks in a race, but over the years I've done a lot less, and I doing hardly anything in races these days. Um, I'm usually using gels and powders and things like this as my sources of energy, and to fill up and to sources to gain my calories. In hotter races, I also do salt caps because you're running, you're sweating, you lose a lot of salt naturally, so you need to replenish this salt as well. So I do take salt capsules every hour pretty much, so that my salt, I don't have any sort of imbalances in my body because of less salt. Now this is something I've been able to come at this race nutrition plan with trial and error. I learned about how much salt I need, how much I tend to sweat at different races in different weather conditions, how much I tend to burn, how many calories I need. Like, it took me, I think, a good 6 or 7 years to finally understand that I do 400 calories an hour, and I need to do 400 calories in an hour. And now I try to figure out how to do those 400 calories in an hour, right? If it's a 10-hour race, it's a 15-hour race, it's 400 calories every hour. So how I get those 400 calories, I keep changing, and I keep doing different sources throughout the race. Then there are a lot of people, who ask about can't we do things like rice and dal, or rice and dahi, or more solid food. So usually my answer is, for me personally, these races are races where I'm trying to perform and I'm trying to run hard. If I'm going to do a lot of solid food, it needs to be digested by my body. It needs to be absorbed by my bloodstream. It needs to into my bloodstream. It also, which requires more energy. A lot of times you want your calories faster, so eating solid food all the time does not deliver calories faster, right? So it doesn't serve the purpose for me personally when I'm trying to perform and trying to run hard at a race. If I'm going to have a big bowl of rice or a big bowl of pasta at a race, and I have a big heavy stomach, naturally I won't be able to leave and start running hard again. So for me, I feel gels and stuff is works well. Though there are races like 24-hour races and much longer races where you could do a lot more of solid food, because in these races you're running a lot, not as hard, you're not as intense in terms of the speeds. So you could probably do more. And again, it comes down to practicing these things in training. Most important. When it comes to some of my events, like the Friendship Peak, or the Triple Trouble Run, or Mount Deotiba, the Speed Ascent, when it comes to things like these FKTs, there's a lot more challenges to quite an extent, I would say, because there are no things as aid stations. So you need to carry a lot of what you would consume on yourself as well. For example, when I did Friendship Peak, I didn't carry any water at all. I took 7 gels in the whole 11 hours, 45 minutes. There were three instances, I think, no, 4 instances, I think, when I had water. Twice was at the base camp where Sukrit was, and he gave me soup once and he gave me water once. And then once was at a stream when I was on the way back. I just took water from the stream. And once was, I think, closer to the summit somewhere where I had probably some water. So I didn't carry any water. I just had sips of water throughout. When I did Deotibba, sort of a very similar situation. So I think you need to adjust and need to replan things based on the kind of events you are doing, and based on the event you're planning. you're working on. So I think so planning plays a big role in your nutrition, whether it's just planning your race strategy. Nutrition plays a role in that as well. So yeah, so I hope that helps with nutrition, and I hope you guys can do better. So if you have questions, all right, Desi Rana. How do you deal with cramps during mountain races if you are on top of your hydration and electrolytes? Do you simulate hard scenarios or shocks in training runs to train center? Yeah, so one is dealing with cramps. They happen in races, and one of the good things about racing and sport is when you deal with when you there's a problem, you problem solve and figure out the solution. One of the good things is that endurance running allows you have more time, unlike shorter races. So yeah, in the mountain race, if you have cramps, you first try and identify why are you getting cramps. Like, I have had situations where I'm getting cramps, right? A lot of times just slowing down or just sitting down and taking a break helps. Sometimes it's just out of, you're getting cramps because you're exhausted. uh, you've not, you're finding it hard and you're getting cramps because of that. Or sometimes it's, I don't know, sometimes you are making mistakes. Maybe you've eaten too much. Maybe you are not digesting well enough. So these are small. You do face these kind of issues, and it's trying to problem solve. You can get cramps for various different reasons. So trying to understand why you get cramps, and is the first sort of step, right? Trying to slow down, spend time, and try to, while you're in the race itself, slow down, take a breather, and understand why would you be getting this cramp. Did you eat something funny? Did you run too hard up this mountain just now? Did you run downhill too hard? It could be anything, right? There are times, you had water, let's say, at the top of a climb, and you're running downhill, and you have water jumping around and bouncing around in your stomach, and that could lead to a cramp as well. So where you are consuming your gels and water, which part of the route plays quite an important role as well, right? Also, I think a lot of it comes down to training as well. Practicing every step of the way is probably, key. Sometimes you have to practice All right, I'm back. Sorry about that once again. In the previous questions, there was also something about shocking your system, right? I think uh, I do tend to do experiments in training as well. For example, today I went out on a long outing this morning, and I didn't eat anything till about 1 in the afternoon, and that was just that's all. I didn't carry any water. I left around 8:15 in the morning, and I was back around 1. No water, no nothing to eat. So basically, this was like me experimenting with things, right? Trying to put myself in weird situations. So it's good to do these and train and sort of shock your body with small small things in training. In mountain races, you have to Yeah. All right. So yeah, as I was saying, it's good to shock yourself with small experiments now and then in training. It just allows you to not, in case these things happen in a race, you deal with them better. Alrighty. Next question.
Yeah.
All right. So this is another quiz for another cool gift hamper. The Mount Friendship FKT film, right? Imagine now. It's we haven't yet released it, so but we have been talking about it lately, and you got to guess which of the film festivals these were selected in. So yeah, go ahead, and I hope you good luck with it. I hope you get it right.
Film and visual
Uh,
description.
pardon?
Link description.
Oh, okay.
Firing.
Okay, so also on that note, I'm pretty excited. So imagine we have since we have not yet released it, but we do have we have signed up, put a link in the description for you guys to basically just sign up and have an opportunity to film this, to watch this. It's at a nominal fee. I shall explain to you why and try to justify the reason why a little later. Other than the fact that it's an amazing film and been watching it for the last few months whenever I want to get psyched, right? If I'm having a down day, I'll end up watching Imagine and being like, all right, Kyron, go out for a run, man. So yeah, so that link for it is in the description. So you can check it out as well after this. And good luck with this answer. Alrighty. Alrighty. And so this is going to be the last topic for us for today. Approaching sponsors. This is something I've been working and dealing with since the day I chose to do ultra running, trail running, whatever it is that I do as a full time athlete. And there have been a lot of key learnings over the years. And I'm going to try and share some of them with you guys. And hopefully, well, if you are trying to reach out to brands and companies and people, you can, gain something from this as well. All right. Yeah. So for me, as an athlete, always top priority is good performance because that is my job that I do, right? So it's like any other job you would do, right? You want to be performing good at your job. So that's my performances are the most important for me personally. I focus on performance in everything I'm doing. If I'm heading out for a race, if I'm heading out for an FKT, I want to perform well. And yeah, so that's how I look at it, right? That always gets priority for me. Uh, oh, 1 second. Yeah. After that, it is all right. I'm back. Yeah, yeah. So being presentable and networking, right? Very important, because when I say being presentable, it doesn't mean just speaking well or wearing good clothes or anything. It's more about being open, being friendly, being approachable, right? You don't want to be a snobby guy sitting in the corner, and you want to be a nice guy to talk to, right? So you want, whenever you go out, you want to talk to people, you want to talk to you want to talk to people, you want to discuss things with them. So you want to be a nice guy, firstly, right? That's probably the most important thing. And networking, right? The more you go out, the more you put yourself out there, the more you tell people that you are trying. This is what you do. This is what you're trying to do with the sport, with your sports you're doing, or with whatever you're doing. It plays an important role. Not everything will work. Not no one's going to come and just start offering money or start offering support right away. It is just you reaching out to more people, right? Over the last 5 years, I have been reaching out to numerous people all the time, and it's the most disappointing and it's the most heartbreaking. But it's part of the process. You have to accept it. You have to deal with it. You have to know it's all right. It happens, and keep working at it. Stick to it and keep at it, right? And that plays a big role. So you get out there, put yourself out there, talk to people, discuss things with people, and increase that network. Right? If you're starting with one person, go to 2 and 10 and 15 and 20 and 100. The more people you have access to, the more people know about you, the more the chances of you increases. With trying to get someone to support you, basically. Uh, yeah. The next point would be. Can you put the slides up? Yeah. Yeah. No one is, no brand, no company, no one is just going to hand you things in the platter. You need to put the work, right? It's very important to understand, what do you have to offer, right? It's there's a saying I had read a while back. It's not what you, or probably I made it up. It's not what you can do for the brand. It's not what the brand can do for you. It's what you can do for the brand, right? So it's all about trying to understand what you can do for the company. How do you bring value to them? How can you be an asset to them? And for that, you need to put in a lot of back end work. Look at a brand, understand their motto, understand their tagline, understand their ethics, understand their interests. How do you align yourself with what they stand for? How do you align yourself with their ideologies? Uh, it plays a big role, right? So that requires research, that requires study, putting in the time, and it changes with every brand, it changes with every company, changes with every individual, right? You're reaching out to. When you're reaching out to someone, you need to remember that the person you're reaching out to is another person, right? So you need to also make your communication as uh, easy, as simple as possible. Especially I feel for someone like me who's doing something which is very out there, weird. The space doesn't exist. Trying it requires a lot of education. It requires a lot of that initial base building of telling people what it is I do, and explaining it, right? So whatever you're trying to communicate, that should be simply understood, right? So trying to break it down and explaining things. For example, triple trouble, right? We could have easily just been calling it a 126-kilometer run, right? Triple trouble, though, sounds a lot more. It's sort of a more simpler version, right? Triple trouble, 3 back-to-back marathons, right? That's what the guy did. 3 back-to-back marathons. It's easier to understand and sounds better as well, right? 3 marathons back to back sounds cooler. So breaking down what you're trying to do, making it more relatable is key, right? Yeah. The next point is finding the right person. Extremely important. Again, finding the right person, because there are so many people in this giant in these companies, right? It's a big ecosystem and a lot of people working. So you can't just reach out to random people. You need to find out the key people to reach out to talk to communicate your plans, your goals with. Usually, there are agencies, or there are brand managers, or marketing heads, or marketing managers, people in the marketing space, in the marketing vertical of the company, usually, unless you're trying to do something with the company directly, which involves the employees of a company. That would probably be the HR guys of the company, right? So trying to find the right person who you need to communicate with in the organization is extremely important. Um, Trying to reach out to the right person, yeah, is important. All right, the next point would be, all right, we did communication is keeping the communication simple. We've done that. Entrepreneurship is key. All right. So for me personally, right, over the last 5 years, I have always been telling people that, I need to think like an entrepreneur, right? Like I'm not just an athlete, right? I feel I am running a startup, a one-man startup, right? I need to think about the the product, which is my performance, the sales, which is reaching out to people and trying to raise money for myself, the logistics, which is planning my whole year, planning all the logistics of racing and traveling and living and everything, and the HR, because things go down, you do feel bad, so I need to figure out how to keep myself happy as well. So basically, I feel like I'm running a small startup, right? You need to think about like a startup. Think how you're bringing a new. At least that's how I look at it. Trying to bring a new product to the market. How do I reach out to people? How do I reach out to companies? How do I raise money for it? Uh, Thinking out of the box mostly all the time, uh, thinking how to living pretty frugally, that's very important and plays a big role. So basically living like a startup life pretty much, right? Always trying to, you always no work hours, you're always figuring out how to make ends meet, how to make things work. You need to package everything, right? Like if, for example, if when we did Friendship Peak, making decks, making PPTs, reaching out to people to try to get someone to support us, which didn't happen eventually, but you have to do all this work. You need to figure out what content, because this in this day and age, right? We are doing this over a live session and stuff like that. There are a lot of mediums, right? Instagram, Facebook, social media, a lot of mediums, YouTube. So this allows you to put a lot of content out there. So content plays a huge role, right? You guys are getting to watch some of the amazing pieces that we put out, right? For images, videos, everything. So that plays a huge role, and that's a good way to communicate your what you want to do. Communicate what your story is. Communicate your goals and adventures and everything. So using the mediums we have is extremely important. And probably the last one, and also probably one of the most important ones, is finding a team. You cannot do anything on your own, right? For me, initially, it started off a lot with my dad. My dad would come out to races. He would help out. He would be my brand. He would be my manager, so to say. He was reaching out to brands. He was communicating things with them. He was trying to convince brands, trying to get people on board, doing meetings. He was reaching out emails, things all the time, right? Over the years, my dad now still does things, but not as much, right? Like now, I have a solid group of friends here at Foreplay with me, right? We we have all been able to work together to work towards my goals, which is, some of it is the other FKTs you've heard about this year, right? Whether it's the Friendship Peak, whether it's the Triple Trouble, the Otaba Ascent, all of it. And this has happened with not just me, right? It's happened with a lot of people in the back end, right? Guys making, like Sukrit making decks, reaching out to brands, Suhail, Prashant, he's the director of the film. So him getting a team of people to shoot. If you see the film, you see a bunch of people in that. All of them have put out their time and, come out and supported me with what I want to do. And, all of them are putting in that work. So it's not, if I was doing it on my own, I would not have been able to get you any content. But because I have people who are out there helping out, who are out there putting in their time and effort to, help me live my dream and show all of this to all you guys, plays a big role. So even today, I think this webinar would not have been possible if it wasn't for Sukrit, right? Like, I think I'm pretty handicapped when it comes to all these modern technologies, like with the internet and everything. I would never have been able to figure it out. But with him, I've been able to now sort this out, right? So the team plays a huge role in this. So finding yourself the right people to help you with whatever it is, small things all the time, goes a long way. Alrighty, read if you have any questions. All right, Desi Rana. Sponsorship comes with an added pressure to perform. Do you do some mental exercises in those moments? In that case, share your favorite. So, I think more sponsorship does not add pressure for performance for me. I think I add enough pressure on myself for performances. I always have in most of my goals. I always have a unrealistic target, and then I have a little more realistic target, and then I have a target that I tell everyone about. So that's how I go about it. And deep down, I always hope for that unrealistic target, but I'm usually closer to the realistic target. And the target I tell people is usually to save my ass and not, be embarrassed about it. So I think I add enough mental pressure for myself usually, but I like to spread out things I do, which allows me to comfortably build up, look forward to every event. When I train well, when I'm at a start line and I feel like I have done all the work I could to be at the start line to do a good performance, that keeps me psyched. That doesn't allow me to feel scared or anything. There's no pressure then. Like I am usually, I know I've put in the work. The things come when things go wrong when I don't put in as much work in training, and I know it deep down, honestly, that I haven't put in the work, and that's when I start to get a little scared. When it comes to a lot of mental exercises, I tend to do a lot of visualization in the months leading up. For example, Deotibba was a project we had started talking about in May this year, and I started dreaming about it pretty much from then, right? Starting to visualize things. The Triple Trouble route was a circuit that I had sort of envisioned many years back. And this year, when it was like, all right, Kieren, you're going to do it, I started imagining myself running over Rohtang and running down, and coming down from Rohtang and seeing Mall Road in the distance, or going over Hamta Pass, crossing those streams in the morning. I started doing a lot of visualization of the whole route. I remember doing, I think, 2 or 3 days before the race, before the run, Triple Trouble. I'd gone with a friend and I had done some breathing exercises with him, and that whole breathing exercise routine, I just visualized myself running through every step of that whole course. So I think that helps me in a big way. All right, Sanjay. My dad also is my hero still now. He is my sponsor. Then he is a team, and then he support. Yeah, I think it's amazing that your dad does that, and I think it's really cool. So kudos to your dad, and kudos for you chasing your dreams as well. Alrighty, so this is the last quiz, and I think the guys, it's a hint. Whoever's read my blog would probably know this answer. I put it out in the blog. Now, if you haven't read the blog and you want to try and get this answer, you'll have to probably go and do a quick Google search for my blog, which is, I trust me, going to be a bit hard to find. So the question is, how much time did I take to reach the summit of Mount Theotippa from the start line? So how long did I take to reach the top? So you can go ahead and try and give it a guess. And if you've read the blog, you can give it, the answer. So I do hope this webinar session has been of some use, and I hope you can, utilize this for yourself and learn from it. And always, I'm free. Just DM me with whatever you want. In the meantime, I once again put it out that imagine amazing film made by Prashant. It's been in a couple of film festivals around. We haven't yet released it, and we are going to be putting it out as through a paid link. the idea of the paid link is, friendship was a project that I've been sitting on for many years, 6 years, so 7 years. This year, I was finally able to do it. We put money out of our pocket. We had no support for it. We put in all the work. Everyone did work for free, pretty much. So, this is, well, if you guys go out there and get the film, it will be a very nominal fee. So trust me on that. It'll make us feel damn good, and it'll basically encourage us to probably do more such work with the films. So
These
all
are the
right,
right answers for the quiz.
all right. So yeah, all right. So these are the right answers for the quizzes, and the first one was what was the first one? All right. So the first one was which are the three FKTs I have done this year, right? And in the order of execution. So the guy who got it right was Prashant Arora. So yeah, awesome stuff, man. And thanks for keeping tabs on my whole year.
Answer.
Yeah. Oh, so the answer for this is the first one was Friendship Peak in June. The second one was Triple Trouble in September, and the wait, was it September? I think it was. And the last one was Deotipa in October. All right. The next quiz. What's the next answer? No, the next question. All right. Which mountain passes did I cover during Triple Trouble run? The answer for this is Hamta Pass first, and then Rohtang. I took how much time did I take to finish? It was 18 hours and 55 minutes. And which Nivea Men 42K product is the most effective for cleaning up my stinky body after 126 kilometers of running? And that would be the shower gel, the Nivea Men 42K shower gel. It's so the guy who got the right answer is Ashish Rai. So good stuff, man. You're going to get some of these products. So it's a pretty cool one. So yeah, enjoy it. Quiz number 3. All right. So the Mount Friendship FKT film Imagine has been nominated for which of these? Banff, Kendall, or Sheffield? The right answer is all of the above. It's been screened on Banff already, and it's part of the Banff throughout the year. Kendall as well, and Sheffield as well. So the guy who got the person who got the right answer is what's his name? Goan Sridhar.
Gotham Sridhar.
Gotham. So Gotham Sridhar, man, awesome, good stuff, Gotham. Yeah, good stuff with that. And quiz number 4, the last one was from Deotiba. So quiz number 4 for the biggest giveaway. Drum roll, please. Dun, 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 dun. The question was, how much time did I take to reach the summit of Mount Deotiba from the start line? Well, I hope Prashant has not been cheating, but he has got Prashant Arora is the right answer as well. And the answer is 11 hours and 35 minutes to reach the summit of Mount Deotiba. I think that was from the dam, from the roadhead to the summit was about 22, 23 kilometers. Took me quite a bit. All right, so that's the 4. Are we doing the...
You're back on.
All right. One last thing. So whoever has, taken part in the quizzes and tried to have a little fun with this serious topic of all the discussion we've been having all evening, whoever answered it, we will just give you out a link to enjoy Imagine, the film on Friendship Peak. So if you can...
Just the pitch deck also.
Oh, all right. And this is the other one. So this is the other thing we are upselling today. So there's a deck that I use to, send to sponsors, and I'll be giving that pitch deck as well. It's pretty much going to be the whole deck that I give out, and I reach out with brands too. So you'll also have a link to, again, a normal fee, help support me for the pitch deck. So I think that link should be in your comments or somewhere down below over there, and fill up the Google link. I think it is Google Sheet. So yeah, and whoever answered and made an effort to answer the 4 quizzes, we will send you a link to watch Imagine for free. I think so. Yeah, so you can enjoy it. Alrighty, guys. So that's the end of it. Thanks so much for taking out. I think this was 1 hour 25 minutes of your evening, and if you're in a different part of the world, so that time of the day. So thanks so much for coming out here, listening to me, jabber about random things on running. I hope it was a learning experience for you, and I hope to do some of these other things in the future, and probably we can get into more detail and talk more specific things. So thanks again, thanks a ton once again for to Nivea Men 42K for supporting me and allowing this webinar to happen. And all right, so we'll see you guys around next time. Take care and stay safe out there. Good night.